5 things you may want to consider before you do a plant medicine ceremony. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Dr. Kate Flynn. I guide men and women up out of the mental madness of their thinking thoughts and into self-love. And I've put together a list of things that you may find helpful if you are contemplating or considering or feeling called to do a plant medicine experience, something like Vilca or San Pedro or Ayahuasca. These are just some things I learned along the way you may find helpful. So let's jump right in with number 1, which is going to be expect the unexpected. You are going to be guided through a process to set a sacred intention, and that is all well and fine. The medicine is going to take you where it wants to take you. It may be directly to the intention you've set, and it may be the long way around. It just depends on where your kind of resistance is and what it is you are trying to create in your life. I know for me, I thought I had lots of things figured out, but there were still some gaps. Life wasn't unfolding the way I thought it should, according to all the work I've done. And I saw exactly what I needed to see to be able to move forward in a new way and to also tweak the way I work with people in my practice. That being said, it was not on my radar. I was caught completely off guard, and it was hard. It was intense. So maybe that would help you to kind of expect the unexpected, to say, yes, I set my intention and I surrender, I relax, I allow whatever's going to come up with as much ease and grace as possible. Number 2, throughout your process, you're probably going to have some kind of epiphany or realization, and you're going to feel wide open about it. And you are going to experience this expansion and freedom. And also, the longer time goes by afterwards, your mind is going to try to shut all of that down. So you've done this plant medicine, it's bypassed your mind or went through it, puts you in another space and time or realm or dimension or whatever you want to call it. And then when you settle back into your life, your ability to follow up on the things that you saw and the awarenesses that you had are all going to be governed by your mind. And if you don't have a way to rise up out of that, you're not going to be able to easily make the changes you know are being asked of you to be able to manifest whatever intention that you set. Number 3. Sometimes our minds will convince us that the healing we seek is not immediately available to us wherever we are. It's like, no, those things aren't going to work for me. I need to have this exotic experience in the Amazonian jungle, or juice fast in Mexico, or an eat, pray, love experience through India, whatever it may be. And it's just not true. There is another way. There is an easier way. You can actually bypass that experience altogether and get your mind on board with having to know very little about what has happened or why it's happened, and be able to move forward without identifying all those things or flying across the world or investing thousands of dollars. Number 4. While it can be cool or even fascinating to explore these otherworldly realms, that is not where you live, and that is not where your life unfolds, right? So you can have the awareness, but if you can't integrate it into physical, earthly, third-dimensional reality here, then man, what is the point, right? This is not an experience to be kind of suffered through or force your way through. Like, being human, being in the physical world, it's an amazing experience. So this idea of needing to have a kind of psychedelic experience or whatever it may be, that's just not where you live. And I see it, especially living where we're living, it can be like an addictive experience. Oh, I need to go do this. Oh, I need to revisit that otherworldly place. So just know that it can be a novel experience, and yet that's not where reality unfolds here. Number 5, and number 5 is probably the most important thing to consider if you are really responding to an experience like this. Like, okay, yeah, I know she said all this that she said, and yeah, I really feel like that's what my body is asking me to do. That'll give me so many answers. Is to make sure you have a support plan in place for afterwards, right? Because anytime you do any kind of inner work, contemplative, whether it's, a healing process with a practitioner, you do it on your own, or you have this plant medicine experience, there is some processing involved with that. And I would think you would like to experience as much ease and grace in that processing as possible. So having the awareness to consider, how long is it going to take me to process what I've experienced? It might be 1 or 2 weeks. It might be 3 to 6 months. And during that time is not going to be a time when you want to continue a deep dive into some other kind of healing experience, but rather to allow things to settle into this new place of being. And then consider any possible reactions you might have. Maybe you're going to feel tired for 3 months after that experience. And how can you navigate that with ease and grace? How can you build more downtime into your schedule? Whatever it may be, whether it's getting some outside support during that time, but just not to think that you can have that experience and then just try to resettle into the life that you've known and created up to that point, because that's probably going to come with challenges. So there you have it. Those are my 5 tips or things to consider before you go into a plant medicine ceremony, and to realize there's a reason why you don't hear about people's experiences like 6 months, a year down the road. You hear about them right after and how amazing it was. And yeah, there's a way to carry forth that momentum, and then there's a way for your mind to shut it all down. So I hope you found these helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Wait a minute, one more thing I wanted to share. This really did change the way that I work one-on-one. I really used to believe like you needed to connect the dots and have conscious awareness of everything that was going on, get your mind fully on board, and then you can shift it. And now I found that that's just not true. You can use your inner authority, your intuition to identify places where the power is being kind of hijacked and shifted away from your bodily knowing, from self-love, and into fueling your thinking thoughts. You can identify those things, implement correction, and call all that energy and power back to you. And from there, experience this miraculous healing and self-love and the ability to create a life you love. So if that sounds like something you may be interested in, and you don't want to talk about your problems and talk about your feelings, but you really want an actionable way to move forward, then I'm your girl. Reach out.